Hey everyone, 99% of you watching aren't subscribed. Let's change that. Hit that subscribe button, and at 1,000 subscribers, we'll drop special stories just for you.
The job listing had been suspiciously vague. Wanted, experienced caregiver. Must tolerate loud noises, acidic drool, and occasional dimensional rifts. Competitive pay. Hazard stipend included. Maya Rodriguez read it 3 times. Hazard stipend, she muttered. That's either rich people dramatic or government-level weird. The interview took place at a temporary diplomatic facility built just outside the city, an elegant dome of mirrored alloy humming softly with contained energy. Security was intense but polite. The guards wore human uniforms. The hovering sentry orders definitely did not. Inside, the air shimmered faintly, like heat rising off asphalt. She was led into a vast chamber where the Varelian delegation waited. Ambassador Xylox stood at the center, tall and fluid, their forms subtly shifting like light refracting through water. Commander Threen stood beside them, broader, armored in natural crystalline ridges that caught the light in razor-thin rainbows. Between them, barely contained, were 4 small whirlwinds of claws and glowing frills. The cubs. They were spherical but constantly unfolding, 6 limbs appearing and retracting as they bounced, rolled, and skidded across the polished floor. Their skin shimmered with faint constellations under the surface. Each had 6 luminous eyes that blinked independently, taking in everything at once. One was chewing on a translator drone. Spark, the ambassador said in a layered musical tone. The cub spit the drone out. It sparked pitifully. The hovering translator recalibrated and spoke in a calm human voice. Our offspring requires supervision during high-level negotiations. Earth gravity and atmospheric composition have made them energetic. That was one word for it. Another cub launched itself at a wall, phased halfway through it, then popped back out, looking startled and deeply pleased with itself. Maya blinked. Are they supposed to do that? Commander Threen shifted awkwardly. They are discovering new thresholds of molecular density. Uh-huh. The third cub hissed at a decorative plant, which instantly crystallized into something resembling modern art. The fourth simply stared at Maya with unnerving focus. Its frill flickered from blue to orange, testing her. Human caregiver, the translator chimed. Varelian young established social hierarchy through vocal dominance display. If challenged, lesser beings retreat. The cub staring at her let out a low, rolling rumble. It vibrated through her rib cage. The other 3 froze. Then, almost ceremonially, they arranged themselves in a loose semicircle around her. The air pressure changed. The lights dimmed slightly. Ah, the ambassador said carefully. They're initiating. Initiating what? Maya asked. The cubs inhaled an eerie synchronization, and then they roared. It wasn't just sound. It was force. The roar rippled outward in visible waves, bending the air like heat distortion. The chamber trembled. One of the guards grabbed a railing. The translator crackled and glitched through 3 dialects at once. Maya's hair whipped around her face. Her instinct screamed. Predator. Bigger predator. Run. She did not run. She planted her feet. Because she had seen this before, not the claws, not the alien biology, but the tactic. Her youngest brother used a scream in grocery stores to establish dominance over the candy aisle. Noise is power. Chaos is control. The roar tapered off. The cub's frills burned neon blue. Waiting. Behind them, she noticed something else. Ambassador Xylox had taken a subtle step backward. Commander Threen had taken 2. If the human withdraws, the translator explained softly, the cubs will claim this territory as theirs. Maya raised an eyebrow. Oh, absolutely not. The cub who had started it, slightly larger, constellation pattern brighter than the others, let out a shorter bark of challenge. The other 3 echoed it. The guards edged toward the exits. Commander Threen was already halfway to the shuttle corridor. They are very promising leaders, the ambassador offered nervously. Not today, Maya said. The largest cub advanced, claws clicking against the alloy floor. Another snapped its jaws experimentally. The air grew warmer. The lights flickered. Maya inhaled slowly. She thought about early mornings getting 4 boys to school. She thought about breaking up backyard wrestling matches. She thought about the time she'd stared down a raccoon with nothing but a broom and sheer audacity. Then she leaned forward slightly and smiled. "Okay," she said softly. "You want to measure volume?" The cubs rumbled again. The ambassador whispered, "Perhaps we should provide protective shielding." Too late. The cubs opened their mouths wide and unleashed a second, more powerful roar, one that cracked a seam in the far wall and sent a shock wave skidding across the chamber. This was no tantrum. This was a declaration. The message was clear. We are Apex. Retreat. The ambassador and commander instinctively stepped back another pace. The shuttle ramp behind them hissed open automatically. Maya did not move. The roar faded. Silence settled like dust. The cubs stared at her, frills blazing, waiting for submission. Instead, Maya rolled her shoulders. "Oh, kids," she murmured. And somewhere deep inside her chest, deep in the place humans keep their stubbornness, their protectiveness, their refusal to be intimidated, something stirred. The cubs took one synchronized step forward. Behind them, their parents slowly, quietly edged toward the safety of the shuttle, just in case. And Maya, still standing, opened her mouth. Maya didn't plan the sound. It wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't calculated. It certainly wasn't diplomatic. It was instinct. When the 4 alien cubs stepped forward in perfect synchronization, frills flaring electric blue, claws etching shallow lines in the alloy flooring, something ancient inside her switched on. They roared first. The chamber buckled under it. The sound wasn't just heard. It pressed against her skull, rattled her spine, thudded against her lungs like a physical shove. The air shimmered. The translator drone spiraled wildly before stabilizing midair. Behind the cubs, Ambassador Xylox retreated another careful step. Commander Threen disappeared fully up the shuttle ramp. Human. The translator crackled urgently. Withdrawal is an acceptable outcome. Maya inhaled, and she roared back. It tore out of her like thunder cracking stone. Not alien, not layered in harmonic frequencies, not capable of bending physics. But it was raw. It was sharp. It carried the full, unfiltered authority of someone who had broken up backyard riots, who had shouted across football fields, who had won silence an entire gymnasium with a single bark command. The chamber went still. The cubs blinked. Their frills flickered. Maya didn't stop. She stepped forward one solid, echoing boot step, and roared again, louder, longer. Then she clapped her hands hard enough to snap like a gunshot. The shock wave of sound rebounded off the walls. The cubs flinched. Actually flinched. For the first time since she'd arrived, the constellation pattern beneath their skin dimmed slightly. The largest cub tilted its head. The second one's frills shifted from neon blue to a cautious lavender. Behind them, Ambassador Xylox made a sound of astonished disbelief. "Commander," the ambassador murmured, voice trembling to the translator. "She is not retreating." Commander Threen peeked around the shuttle frame. She advanced. Maya crouched slightly, lowering her center of gravity the way she used to when confronting a charging Labrador at the shelter she'd volunteered at in college. Her voice dropped. "No holes in the walls," she said firmly. The cubs answered with a lower rumble, uncertain now. The biggest one stepped closer, nostrils flaring. Heat rolled off it like a furnace. Maya didn't break eye contact. She gave a short, sharp growl. Not as loud, not as explosive, but deliberate. The cub froze mid-step. It processed. Its 6 eyes blinked out of sync. Then, slowly, it lowered its head. The other 3 glanced at it, hierarchy recalculating. Maya straightened and gave one final, control roar, shorter, sharper, ending in a crisp clap. Silence. The cubs' frills dimmed to soft violet. They sat, all 4, at once. The translator droned word uncertainly. Dominance acknowledged. It said carefully. The ambassador stared at her. Human Maya Rodriguez. Xylox said in awe, "You have performed a high matriarch challenge without bioluminescent augmentation." Maya blinked. "I have no idea what that means." "It means," Commander Threen said, stepping cautiously back onto the chamber floor, "they believe you outranked them." One of the cubs, slightly smaller with a crooked frill, let out a questioning chirp. Maya pointed toward the wide doorway leading into the residential wing of the facility. "Inside," she said. The cubs didn't move. She narrowed her eyes. "Inside." Then she gave a soft warning growl. The biggest cub stood first, turned, walked toward the doorway. The others followed, perfectly. The guards, who had been pressed flat against the walls moments ago, slowly lowered their hands. Commander Threen looked faintly shaken. They have never yielded to non-Varelian life forms. Maya brushed her hair out her face. "Kids don't care what species you are," she said. "They care if you mean it." As if to test that theory, one cub paused halfway through the doorway and glanced back at her. Its frill flickered a mischievous yellow. It opened its mouth. Maya raised one finger. The cub shut its mouth immediately. The ambassador made a small, reverent sound. "Commander," Xylox whispered, "I begin to understand why this species dominates its ecosystem." Maya walked past them toward the living quarters, the cubs already exploring the space beyond with curious trills instead of battle cries. She glanced over her shoulder. "You two gonna stay?" she asked casually. "Or are you hiding in the shuttle?" The commander stiffened. "We are not hiding." The shuttle ramp hissed slightly higher behind him. Maya smirked. "Uh-huh." Inside the residential wing, something crashed. A low, excited roar echoed, less aggressive now, more exploratory. Maya rolled her shoulders again. "All right," she muttered. "Round 2. Behind her, 2 powerful alien dignitaries exchanged a silent, unanimous decision. They would observe from orbit, just temporarily. Strictly strategic. Absolutely not hiding. Maya stepped through the doorway. For glowing cubs turned toward her. This time, when they rumbled, it wasn't a challenge. It was a question. By hour 2, Maya had established what she called Chaos Protocol. The Varelian residential wing had been designed for dignified interstellar negotiations, not juvenile cosmic wrestling matches. The walls shimmered with adaptive alloys. The furniture hovered politely above the floor. The ceiling projected calming star fields. None of it was designed for 4 alien cubs. Discovering gravity was optional. Spark, largest constellation pattern blazing bright, had claimed the central lounge as a proving ground. Boom had discovered that clapping all 6 paws at once created localized shock waves. Glimmer phased in and out of furniture like it was a personal challenge. Kevin had fixated on a sanitation drone and was attempting to adopt it. Maya stood in the center of it all with hands on hips. "Okay," she said firmly. "New rules." For glowing heads swiveled toward her. Rule 1. No phasing through structural walls. Glimmer slowly withdrew halfway out of a pillar. Rule 2. No plasma discharge indoors. Boom sneezed experimentally. A spark fizzled harmlessly in the air instead of detonating against the ceiling. Rule 3. Roaring is for outside unless someone is on fire or being eaten. Spark considered this deeply. Kevin chirped at the sanitation drone. Maya nodded once. "Good. We're learning." For a while, it worked. She redirected Spark's need for dominance into competitive jumping. Who could leap highest without hitting the ceiling? She turned Boom's shockwave claps into rhythmic stomping games. She handed Glimmer reflective surfaces to explore controlled light refractions. She assigned Kevin the very important job of guardian of the cleaning bot. The cubs thrived under structure. They glowed brighter when praised. They chirped when acknowledged. They even began mimicking her posture, standing taller when she did, settling when she crouched. It might have remained manageable, if not for the courier drone. It streaked overhead outside the transparent dome ceiling, engines humming sharply. The cubs froze, for heads tilted. Frills flickered red. Predator? Invader? Unknown sky thing. Spark bolted first. The others followed in a blur of claws and bioluminescent streaks. They burst through the open exterior access, hatch into the landscape courtyard. "Hey!" Maya sprinted after them. Too late. The cubs formed a loose circle in the yard, staring up at the sky. The drone banked overhead again, unaware of the existential crisis below. Spark roared. Boom echoed. Glimmer's frill flared blinding crimson. Kevin's eyes went wide. The air warped. Maya felt it before she saw it. The pressure dropped, the hum rising beneath hearing. Above the decorative fountain, space itself shimmered like disturbed water. A thin crack of darkness split the air. Stars gleamed through it. Wrong stars. The rift widened. Inside the residential wing, alarms began to chime softly. Up in orbit, aboard their shuttle, Ambassador Xylox stiffened. Dimensional breach detected, the ship's system reported. Commander Threen looked down at the courtyard feed, where 4 cubs were collectively tearing a hole in reality. Should we intervene? On screen, Maya marched directly toward the expanding rift. Xylox hesitated. She has thus far demonstrated extraordinary parental dominance. Below, the rift crackled wider. The cubs roared again, excited now, not angry. The tear pulsed with unstable gravity. The fountain water spiraled upward toward it. Maya planted herself between the cubs and the forming void. Hey! The cubs faltered, but didn't stop. Spark's eyes blazed. The rift responded. Maya shifted tactics instantly. She didn't roar this time. She crouched low, lowering her voice to a steady growl that vibrated with warning. Too much. Spark blinked. Boom's frill flickered uncertainly. Maya thumped her fist lightly against her chest. Big energy, she said firmly. Then she pressed her palm flat against the ground. Controlled. The cubs hesitated. The rift pulsed dangerously. Maya let out a sharp, clip bark. All 4 cubs snapped their attention to her. She softened her tone just a fraction. Outside energy is fine, but you don't tear holes in reality because you're bored. She gave a short, rhythmic roar, playful, patterned, not challenge. Instruction. Spark mimicked it tentatively. The rift flickered smaller. Boom copied the rhythm. Glimmer adjusted pitch instinctively. Kevin chirped in harmony. Maya nodded, keeping the cadence steady. That's it. Match me. The cubs roared together, this time controlled. Synchronized. The crack in space trembled. Shrank. Folded inward like cooling glass. With a final flicker, the rift snapped closed. The fountain water crashed back down. Silence settled over the courtyard. One confused squirrel blinked from a tree branch. Maya exhaled slowly. Spark approached her cautiously. Its frill had dimmed to soft blue. Maya reached out and tapped its forehead gently. Good correction. Spark emitted a low, please rumble. The others gathered around her, brushing against her legs in cautious affirmation. Above, inside the shuttle, Commander Threen stared at the now stable courtyard feed. They sealed a dimensional rupture through social regulation. Ambassador Xylox's voice was hushed. She converted destructive instinct into structured expression. Below, Maya straightened and crossed her arms. All right, she said. New rule. For glowing faces looked up at her. No reality bending without adult supervision. Kevin chirped apologetically. Boom attempted a tiny roar. It came out more like a squeak. Maya smirked. Better. The cubs circled her, not as challengers now, but as orbiting bodies around a steady center. Hierarchy had shifted again, not through force, through control. Up in orbit, 2 very powerful alien parents watched their offspring settle at the human's feet. Commander Threen cleared his throat. Ambassador, do you feel it would undermine our authority to remain in orbit slightly longer? Xylox watched as Maya scratched Spark beneath the chin, and the cub nearly melted with contentment. Strategic distance, the ambassador decided. Below, unaware of the diplomatic retreat happening above her, Maya looked down at 4 glowing alien cubs waiting for her next instruction. Okay, she said. Snack break. For frills flashed bright green in perfect synchronization, and for the first time that day, the courtyard felt less like a battleground and more like a playground. By dusk, the courtyard looked less like the site of a near-dimensional catastrophe and more like a very unusual daycare. Maya sat cross-legged in the grass. Spark's massive, warm head rested heavily in her lap. 6 eyes half closed in bliss. Boom lay on his back nearby, paws twitching in tiny dream shock waves that made the blades of grass ripple. Glimmer had arranged reflective garden tiles into an intricate light maze and fallen asleep mid-project. Kevin was wrapped protectively around the sanitation drone, which had long since powered down in quiet surrender. All four cubs glowed faintly in soft, contented blues and greens. Maya scratched under Spark's chin. The cub released a deep harmonic purr that vibrated through her bones like a distant engine idling. Above, a silver shuttle descended silently through the atmosphere. Negotiations had concluded, trade routes established, cultural exchange frameworks approved, agricultural data shared. Now came the more delicate task, reclaiming their children. The shuttle touched down at the far end of the courtyard with ceremonial grace. The ramp lowered. Ambassador Xylox and Commander Threen stepped out, composed, dignified, radiating diplomatic authority. They froze. Their offspring, future leaders of the Varelian clans, were asleep in a pile around a human. Maya looked up. Oh, hey. Perfect timing. They just crashed. Spark's eyes opened first. The cub sensed a shift in the air. It lifted its head from Maya's lap and spotted its parents. Its frill flickered bright yellow. Boom rolled over and followed Spark's gaze. Glimmer sat up. Kevin blinked all 6 eyes in sequence. For one suspended second, the cubs assessed the situation. Parents present. Hierarchy question. Spark let out a small testing growl. Boom echoed it. The air tightened. Commander Threen stiffened. Ambassador Xylox took an involuntary half-step back. All 4 cubs glanced, not at their parents, but at Maya. Maya raised one eyebrow. The cubs immediately stopped growling. Frills dimmed to calm blue. They sat, in perfect formation. The silence was deafening. Commander Threen cleared his throat. They defer to you. Maya shrugged lightly. We had a productive afternoon. Spark nudged her hand, requesting more chin scratches. She obliged absent-mindedly. The ambassador approached cautiously. Offspring, Xylox said in layered tones. The cubs perked, but did not move. Spark looked back at Maya again, waiting. Maya tilted her head toward the ambassador. Go say hi. Spark stood slowly. The others followed. They approached their parents, but not with the explosive dominance displays from earlier. Instead, they emitted soft harmonic chirps. Affectionate, regulated. Commander Threen looked visibly overwhelmed. They are calmer. They needed boundaries, Maya said simply. Glimmer brushed against Xylox's leg, then returned to sit beside Maya. Kevin waddled halfway to the commander, then scurried back to press against Maya's knee. Boom climbed directly into her lap without asking. Maya laughed. Okay, personal space is still a work in progress. Ambassador Xylox studied the scene with profound focus. Our young test strength to locate stability, the translator said softly. You did not retreat. You did not escalate beyond necessity. You anchored them. Maya shrugged again, a little embarrassed now. They're just kids. Spark turned and gave a low, playful roar at Boom. Boom answered with a softer one. The sound vibrated through the courtyard, but it was warm now, not threatening. Xylox bowed deeply, a gesture of immense cultural significance. Human Maya Rodriguez, the ambassador said, voice resonating with layered respect. You possess the resonance of a high matriarch. Commander Threen inclined his head as well. Maya blinked. I yelled at them and made them take a snack break. You demonstrated apex composure during a dominant surge, Threen said solemnly, and sealed a dimensional rupture through behavioral modulation. Right, that. Spark subtly climbed fully into her lap, despite weighing approximately as much as a small motorcycle. She wheezed. Okay, gentle. The cub adjusted immediately. Careful now. The other 3 gathered close, pressing warm, glowing bodies against her legs. The parents exchanged a glance. Subtle, concerned, slightly intimidated. Offspring, Xylox called gently. It is time to return to the shuttle. Spark looked up at Maya. Maya gave a small nod. Go on. Spark hesitated, then slowly stepped off her lap. Boom followed. Glimmer shimmered once before padding toward the ramp. Kevin lingered last, clutching her shoelace one final time before releasing it with a reluctant chirp. The cubs reached the base of the shuttle ramp. They paused, turned back, Maya crossed her arms, giving them the look. For tiny, synchronized roars echoed across the courtyard, short, disciplined, almost cheerful. She answered with one of her own, not thunderous, not challenging, just enough. The cubs' frills flashed bright green in delight. They bounded up the ramp. Inside the shuttle, they immediately lined up behind their parents, orderly, calm, watching Maya through the open hatch. Commander Threen leaned closer to Xylox. In future diplomatic engagements, the commander murmured quietly, should we request a human's presence? Xylox watched as Maya placed her hands on her hips and called out, text me if they start opening wormholes again. The ambassador's frill shimmered with something very close to amusement. Yes, Xylox said. I believe we should. The ram began to close. Spark squeezed through at the last second and bounded back down. Maya barely had time to brace before the cub headbutted her gently in the stomach. A Virelian gesture of bonded respect. Then Spark scrambled back aboard. The hatch sealed. The shuttle lifted smoothly into the evening sky. Maya stood alone in the quiet courtyard, grass slightly scorched, fountain cracked but functional. One decorative shrub crystallized permanently. She exhaled. Well, she muttered, that was new. High above, the shuttle entered orbit. Inside, for alien cubs sat unusually straight. Commander Threen looked down at them. You will remember the human, he said. Spark gave a small, confident rumble. Boom echoed softly. Glimmer's frill shimmered steady blue. Kevin chirped once. Ambassador Xylox gazed down at Earth. A world whose dominant species roars back, the ambassador mused. Below, Maya checked her phone. Payment received. Hazard stipend included. She smiled. And somewhere in orbit, for young Virelians fell asleep to the memory of a human roar that had not challenged them, but steadied them. And two very powerful alien parents privately agreed on one undeniable truth. If things ever spiraled out of control again, they were absolutely calling the babysitter.